Good evening, Dandadan fans. Mr. Twitchy94, got Vontae the First somewhere over there, and our guest today for our discussion stream will be Commodore Laz. Thank you so much, good sir, for joining us. His channel is in the description as always. So anyone want to start? It's going to be kind of free form. Not really have a format of this discussion, just whatever works.
Yeah. How do we go about it? You take it.
Oh, no, I was going to say, for anybody who's unfamiliar for content, if you want to tell the chat or anybody's watching the VOD or some stuff that you cover on your channel, feel free to.
Most definitely. I mean, well, first off, my name is Commodore Laz. Thank you guys again, of course, having me, Mugen Eclipse, Vontae, Twitchy. We've been wanting to do this for quite a long time, trying to get this discussion talking about the greatness of Yukinobu Tatsu's work of art. One of the series I do cover on my channel alongside with One Piece. I also do a lot of different series discussions, just to kind of put people on some stuff that maybe you've heard about or never heard about. So I'm just going to put you on game because I think they're key and they're great. And Dandadan, of course, being one of the main ones. I talk about the manga every single week. Every Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live and stream it as soon as the chapter comes out. So of course, supporting the officials and everything, but mostly supporting Tatsu and the work of art that he is putting out week in, week out. And that's exactly why we're here today to talk about the greatness. So thank you guys for having me, man.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Rafts. Yes, Season 2 should be considerably better than Season 1. And plus, we were just talking about off camera, the ending of Season 1 was more so like they just kind of ran out of time with the production. So I think Season 2 will be more so like a core 2 of Season 1 more than anything else. But that does not mean that we should not be excited for it, because the Cursed House arc is inbound.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I mean, just that's the thing. It's just like I feel like the content Season 1 was still like very, very good. Like, I mean, episode 7, I think we're gonna be talking about that as like an episode of the year contender, just for how beautiful the whole acrobatic sulky content was. But the stuff that is to come in Season 2, I mean, my lord, especially knowing how it can start, how it's going to be in the middle, and then especially how we hope how it ends, I feel like that's going to be the thing that really takes the series, at least from the anime standpoint, just for people to actually go and pick up more on the series and go into the manga. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But no, Season 1 though, still very good. Just the choices of how they wanted to end it, I'm not sure if I agree with it entirely, but I love the series way too much to go and pick up too much negatives over the positives.
Right. I love the style from Studio Saru. I love the OST choices. Everything about it. It has its own unique style and aesthetic that it's different from a lot of other studios and kind of similar to some studios I've seen too. But that's something that I like that in recent memory, ufotable when it comes to Demon Slayer. Obviously the Fate series, but specifically with Demon Slayer, it what series that they do. They do Demon Slayer. For Dandadan, Studio Saru, that's what they do. And I hope that they keep it up and that they don't switch any studios unless it's a good one. But I think they got it. They've done a great job with it. It has a true identity. So I'm excited for Season 2 and onwards for sure.
I agree with your identity point, because one thing I really loved about Season 1 that I think they will definitely continue in the second season is the unique use of their color palettes. So very vibrant, very specific to the characters. Momo, obviously, she has that like emerald green type of aesthetic. Okaroon with the blood red, Turbo Granny blood red, and now Gigi coming in with the purple, and Ira, of course, with the pink. So I loved absolutely episode 7. My goodness, we want to talk about that for a little bit. That changed the game, because before I got into this series, Laz, I heard that this series had backstories that hit. And
yes,
that one, it wasn't as bad as the Zuma one, but
yeah.
With that being said, Acro Silky, man. That's one thing I really appreciate about Tatsu's writing, is he makes this world feel like sometimes it's personally against you. And I know it has the aesthetic of, it has the yokai shield around the world, and all of these yokai are in the background, sometimes feasting on human emotions. But sometimes it's just not your day, and we get to see how that impacts the rest of your life there on forward.
No, for sure. And I mean, that's the thing I always felt like with this series. It's like when I was getting into it, right, I was hearing a lot of things about like what it's supposed to entail. And this is like when the first chapter came out. And I saw something that what really got me interested was that how it kind of in a way kind of feels like it has captured like the comedic spirit of like Gintama. Like we know like how it comes with the jokes and stuff and how like there's references to certain things here and there. So like when I heard that, I was just like, okay, I'm definitely gonna be tapped in. And that first chapter I think is like probably one of the better like introductions to a whole series. Like you get that reveal at the end of the Ken Takakura and just all the powers and all those things worked out, but mainly just that reveal of who Okron really is. And obviously we still want to know a little bit more about him since Tatsu has purposely left some certain details ahead, as we're going into chapter 200. But as you just said earlier, though, the backstories was like the biggest thing too. And I think Acro Silky, it's like, you think about it, you're 20 chapters into a series and you get hit with something like that so heavy in the beginning. Tells me that the bag that Tatsu has when it comes to writing further stories, not just for the sake of the shock value or whatever, but just to understand these people, like you were just bringing up right now. Like society has been cruel to some of these people, and if Acro was the best example of how you can see that people treat them bad. Like obviously Okron was being bullied, Momo, had her things with guys and stuff, and of course, her relationship with her grandmother and everything. But and then especially when you know about Turbo Granny and the whole thing with the kids in the tunnel, like going back in the rereads and just going, that stuff is crazy. But Acro was like the real like set, like the setter of where everything was going to go from here on out. And then you go and experience stuff like with Vomola's flashback, which was like heartbreaking. And obviously we have the chance ball that we could go back and see her family come back into the mix since we know they're going to be fine. But Unji is like, oh my god, man, that is like the tip. That's the best to me. Like I didn't think the Vomolas could be touched, because it's like it feels like it gets better and better after time. But I feel like this is the new standard. This is like, oh my god, I just can't believe we got that. And I'm hoping he joins the family. I hope, because I know like we have our thing of, is it a crew, is it a family? It's the family, right? And I hope that he's the next member that officially does join, especially seeing the events currently right now in the manga. I feel like we're due for a major moment with him and Gigi. But just everything, man. The fights is so good too. Just seeing like from the yokais to the aliens, the different powers that are being utilized. Just the art as well, which again, like it feels like Tatsu just gets better and better from every single break. Maybe for so, of course, doing research, doing all these other things, but I feel like the art itself, it speaks the series into existence and shows you that this thing is alive and well, and it just gets better and better from there. And then of course like the character writing as well, you feel connected to almost everybody, even from like the background characters, and they serve their purpose and what they need to do. It doesn't feel like there's people in there just for fluff. And the creativity as well when it comes to the use of the yokais and everything. I mean, one of the best examples that we got from early on, I know her name's gonna slip my mind right now because I'm already in the tangent stuff afterwards, but old girl with the mirror,
Reiko,
with Reiko and everything. Like to me, like I'm still floored to this day of her backstory coming up, like with the planes, and like I had no idea what to expect with all that stuff. I'm just like, bro, like that arc was so gas week in and week out, and then just getting that stuff there, it's like I care about her like so much more now. Now I understand why she is the way she is after, and I hope to God that we get to actually see her again real soon in the story, since she's on her little her journey and everything. But yeah, man. I mean, just this series, like we talked about a little bit offhand before we got started on live, but I feel like there is a feeling within my heart that if we're looking at like a series that's going to be here for like the long term, I feel like Dandadan is going to be that. And since the events of chapter 153 or 163, I want to make sure, but the Dandadan reveal itself, that to me, it's like as soon as that happened, I'm like, okay, we're not going to be here for just like a couple more years. We're going to be here for quite some time, because I just refuse to believe that Tatsu has the plan figured out in like a short amount of time. This is going to be around for a long time, and I'm so glad it's going to be the case. But it does rely heavily on, of course, outside factors. Anime has to do well, has to gain more people coming onto the manga, and we have to play our part too, of course, talking about the greatness week in and week out.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about Sanjime then. We have a couple
my
of
dog
ideas, but I want to hear from you first, Laz. What do you make of him? Do you think he is the end game antagonist? Do you think he's something else? Do you think he's possibly the protagonist of a story that we don't know yet? What do you think?
Well, that's the thing, because I've heard like people say like, regards to like what the Dandadan is, maybe like a clue as to who exactly Sanjime, Count Saint Germain, the GOAT himself is. But it can go into many factors. I know we have Turbo Granny's point of view of how they view about them. That there's this old geezer So there's definitely some kind of story between the two of them that we're definitely going to find out at some point. I think this year or early into next year. I don't think it's going to be a long wait. But I do see them as the main antagonists for the whole run, just to play on the safe side of things. Because unless like we were to get more reveals later on, and there's definitely clues in the stories that could easily tell us that could happen. I definitely think he is the one that we're going to be going up against as like the final big bad, the Yoshikage Kira of Dandadan, essentially the guy that obviously we know is the big problem. We're slowly dealing with all the people that he has thrown our way right now and having to take care of, and then eventually when we get to him, he's the big bad. But I don't dismiss the idea that somebody else could come into the mix afterwards and take over his role, and then he goes from being the antagonist to a tweener. That Vante, you probably know more about that term I mean there. In between villain and the face and stuff. So I could see that happening for him. But I think because of where things are right now, the way that he's going out collecting people's abilities with the Kozuka knives, and just how he's contracting people to go and do his hits and everything, I feel like right now it makes sense for him to be the actual antagonist of the story. But I'd be very much open to the idea of somebody else coming into the mix and making us like see a different side all of a sudden to the count. Because his backstory is another one too I want to see. Like, what the hell? Like, who is this guy to be doing all this stuff? Like, what caused you to act out like this?
Vante, you had some pretty cool ideas about Sanjime, so go ahead first.
Okay, let me think. So firstly, when he had that conversation with Ken in the hallway, when he was talking about bacteria, just randomly talking about bacteria and stuff, I was like, what is he getting at with that? And he was talking about how like bacteria can like, I guess, change the behavior of a species. So kind of like, it reminded me of like a parasite, when a parasite gets into an organism and it kind of changes or controls that living organism. I was thinking maybe he was somebody that either was birthed from the void, or he was a yokai that got sent to the void and he came back. Because I was thinking about the void, I thought about bacteria. I was thinking that maybe bacteria and the void is like the same thing, just like dark matter or something like that. But the other thing that I was thinking about was that, and this is something that me and Twitchy talked about a lot, is that he is a part of a group. We're thinking, since this is a big conspiracy manga, we're thinking it has to do with like a quote unquote Illuminati, the eye everywhere.
It might be that ass.
We talked about how like we've seen different characters with, or just different like places with the triangle with the eye in the middle. We talked about Ludris. Maybe Ludris is a part of the group. Maybe they have similar goals. Maybe they have different goals, but they're all part of the same kind of faction. But at this point, and I keep, saying that we are damn near 200 chapters into this manga. In another manga, this would be kind of a red flag if you didn't know about the antagonist's goals, their motivations. But in this series, it works so well because it's so purposeful. The characters in this series, no one is sussing this guy at all. They don't know anything about this guy. So that's what makes it fun. That's why, we were saying that this could be a series as long or relatively long like One Piece, and I would love to see that. But Twitchy, what are some things you're thinking about with Sanjime, aka Count Saint Germain?
So I took it in a different route. I did not think he was the endgame antagonist. I thought perhaps he was a herald for something worse. So a la a Silver Surfer type of deal.
Wow, okay.
Now, we have talked a lot about, and this will be a topic a little bit later on in the discussion, but I'll give you guys a brief little preview about terms of what we want to see from either yokai or aliens moving forward. And I got to thinking about, we have these small little the pygmies that were in the Koki arc, and what if we take that in the opposite direction? So what if we go Galactus sized? So he could be collecting all this spiritual energy for this huge planet-eating monster that's out in the universe. And also, I found it strange he was put in charge of the Kur for their battlefield.
Yes.
So I was thinking to myself, like, what if the king of the Kur is this Galactus-sized octopus demon that just goes around the universe eating planets? Because it was confirmed by Rokuro that there are 666 species of alien life in this
very specific number as well. Like,
so are they, like culling off the excess of that? Or are they essentially building up civilizations only to feed them. So again, Vante and I have talked about this extensively, but the fact that there are no youth on Sumeria, where Momola's people came from, she's the only young person on that planet. Everyone else is super old. So were they sacrificed? Were they given over to become something else? Lots of questions with that, but I don't think Sanjime is necessarily the end game antagonist.
Okay, I mean, I like how you put it that there too as well. Like, you know, again, like he could be like this herald, or possibly just someone that's like a messenger of the actual monster that is to come, possibly. But looking at some of the ideas, like I know, like if he has like his own group of society, I think one group that I could possibly see coming into the mix. I know we throw in the Illuminati and everything, but like the reptilians, I feel like are going to be something we may end up seeing possibly being like brought into the story. Because again, like with Okran's whole talk with the magazine and showing off, you know, stuff like Barack Obama's space and all the other stuff that was going on, I feel like that's the direction I could see things going into. And then not to mention the big moral thing that we know about the whole world with Dandadan right now is that the world right now is being protected by the yokai because of the aliens on the outside that are just trying to go in. So by technicality, the yokai are essentially like good people, or on the side of good, but more so in terms of protecting themselves and the world itself. But in terms of for Count Saint Germain, I mean, like I feel like to me, like we're gonna see when that moment's gonna come, when the confrontation with Turbo Granny happens, because I feel like there's gonna be information provided by Turbo Granny that's gonna really speak into existence just what kind of danger we're truly in, whether it's gonna be from the hand of Count Saint Germain, or as we were saying right now, Tochi, like someone else outside a Galactus type kind of a person that comes into the mix and tries to squabble with them after. And if that ends up being the case, it's like our cast, like the cast itself needs to like upgrade, level up to be able to fight something like that. And that cannot happen within a year of training, 2 years of training. I'm talking like in the sense of us reading week in, week out for a year and two to get to that point. It's going to require a lot of time to go in there. And I also like to see something else that could happen later in the series that kind of equate for that is that we actually do traveling outside of Japan. I feel like that's also another indicator too that we're going to be here for long term, because we've been exploring everything we can when it comes to Japan and, you know, the folklore that's there, but the little bits have been here and around like outside the world. I feel like as soon as you open up the borders and you kind of go travel, like for example, I would love to see mummies, you know, possibly being brought in. So it's like you get to see more of what's going on, but eventually it's going to lead to us having to deal with the actual problem, which is going to be the actual 666 different types of species of alien that are outside, possibly being controlled or working in conjunction with whoever that person is on the outside. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's like with the Count, it's like I feel like he could easily be that main guy. But then now, as you just brought it up right there, I mean, he could also be the Silver Surfer in disguise. So yeah, I'm open for all options.
One thing that Vante brought up, and he's been great with like the history of these references that Tatsu is doing. So he brought up the Pygmies, how that's based on a real world tribe and their discrimination that they encounter. But he also brought up that Count Saint Germain is based off of a real life Count Saint Germain. Yeah. That was based off of Louisiana, I believe. And one thing that I noticed
both or something like that.
Well, he's a traveling vampire.
Yeah, he does a little bit of that here and there. Yeah.
But one thing that I found interesting was one of the conversations that Ira, Momo, and Adoria were having when she first went small and was affected by the curse, and Ira put her in the dollhouse. And there was something in that specific chapter, I'll have to go back and find it, but the way that they were talking, it was almost like you could see that this potentially could be a hint at what Count Saint Germain's backstory is. They had like a southern debutante type of accent. I do declare. Like, you don't hear that too often in any of like the northern part of the United States. It's very southern dialect type of thing. So I'll try to find that in a second. But what do you guys want to talk about next? Turbo Granny? You want to talk about current arc?
I mean, I feel like by talking about Turbo Granny, we almost talk about the current events, but like I feel like we definitely need to talk about our old boss son, because after, you know, getting their powers back from Okran, and now they have no reason to stick around, so they decided to bounce. And We haven't got a phone call, a text message, an email, not even a Batman signal in the air, like nothing at all. So I don't know if this means that they're just MIA in general, and then we're gonna find them again after once we deal with the counts. I had originally believed that based on the stuff that was going on with Okuran and their group at the school, that because of Okuran not having his powers, the ideal thing would be Turbo Granny comes into the mix, helps him out after, and then that's that. But then I'm also looking at the thing is like prior to us going to Shimane, I'm like, okay, if the count is in Shimane, and we have to look into the fact, count with Seiko, for example, we know her ribs are completely cooked right now, so she hasn't been able to do much during this whole fight right now on the plane because she's busy taking care of that, but also trying to take care of her breathing too. Because like it's just so wild to me that little details like that are so good that Tatsu make sure we're in there. It's like, yeah, you have broken ribs, you have to be, you can't breathe too crazy because you're gonna be hurting yourself even more. It's just like smart things like that. But just for the people that we have with us at the time too, and obviously we're protecting some people too. Of course, Daiki, the kid that has the kid that turned old man and stuff. It's just like, goddamn, bro. So it's like we can only do so much of what we have right now. It makes sense that Turbo Granny would come to the mix, but I knew at some point in time the Kito family was gonna come through. But I didn't think it'll be precisely at this moment. So them coming in now, playing like this third party neutral, but technically like an ally right now as we go up against the Eye of the Storm and stuff. But more going back onto Turbo Granny, kind of like, again, like I said earlier, I do feel like if we do get to see them again in the story, it's going to be either them helping out with Momo, probably in a dire situation, or like in a JoJo Bizarre Adventure type setting where, Count Saint Germain is doing something and then Turbo Granny pulls up on them, and then we get this like fight that's going off in the background, and then eventually by the time that Okuran and Momo kind of like sense what's going on, it might be like too late, because I do feel like they are a candidate to possibly be a Waridad at some point in the story, and it would hurt my soul to see the mascot of the story be eradicated like that, but I do think it's something that very much could happen. And I initially thought around chapter 200 would be the ideal time for a confrontation, something like that to happen, but as we're nearing that number, it feels like we're probably going to be closer to actually reaching Shimane if the current events of the fight right now that's ongoing were to conclude by then and move us in that direction. So yeah, I do wonder what exactly Turbo Granny is doing. Maybe they're doing their own research possibly of how they can be able to aid things, because for them to throw the comment about the old geezer and stuff and then just dip and act like nothing has to do with them anymore, it's like, no, that's not true. Like, they have to be doing their own thing, and obviously they don't want to involve Momo and Okuran because obviously their current predicament right now is not helping to them. One is too small right now and is vanishing before our eyes. The other one doesn't have no powers except for the physical prowess that he gained on his own through hard work and determination, which God bless Okuran, bro, for pulling that off, man, because that is just the inspiration that we all need, man. If my boy can do it, bro, all of us can do it.
So Vante and I don't know, I'll let you confirm this. I think we're kind of in agreement that Momo is going to disappear fully at the end of this arc.
Yeah, she's gonna get lost, because even in the last chapter, they damn near lost her. She's little, the plane, the sharks, all this chaos.
Oh my God.
I think she's gonna get lost. And then once we reunite with the other group, Okuran's gonna be like, where's Momo? What happened? Gigi, you say you're gonna protect her. What happened?
Round two.
Yeah.
Now, in a sense of lost, you mean the sense like she just disappears into like a different world, or like she's like
more than likely?
Okay, because I'll say
it could be physical, but it could also be in terms of the memory of her. So
okay, that also works
from their minds entirely.
Yeah,
because Seiko, she's already. I don't know if I'm gonna remember you in a year, Momo. Well, it might be at the end of this plane ride. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, I also like the idea too that like it's such a sad thing to think of, because again, he doesn't have his powers, but I feel like we could get a moment where Okuran might actually die at some point in the story just to come back, because like I've always been of this belief, and I've been wanting to make that video for the longest time, that I generally do think that Okuran might actually have ties to aliens, like literally has ties to aliens, because for him to be able to have that kind of ability to control Turbo Granny's powers in the manner that they did, for me, it's just like there's something more to it, like, because they could have just gone to anybody else and surely would work, but for whatever reason it just worked like perfectly for him. And I'm actually just grabbing something right now here on the side from the excerpt excerpt that I made for the script. So give you guys an indicator of what exactly I'm trying to go with it. But basically, if you think of a storage house with Ken Takakura's name, like when you break it down in the kanjis and all of that, it's basically meant to store something inside. And it kind of feels interesting that he was able to store someone's ability, like Turbo Grannies, for themselves to be able to use it. But also the other word for that is a lock house, like you're keeping something locked away. Why? And the other thing about that too is that why is it that Count Saint Germain is so gung-ho and trying to get something from Okura, and that we as the readers know he doesn't have no powers, but yet is persisting to go after them? I refuse to believe Count Saint Germain's stupid. I refuse to believe he's stupid. Like, he just thinks like, oh, the power's there, and it's like, nani, it's not there. I refuse to believe that, the way that guy operates. So he has to know something else that's deeper about Okran. And if he does have that, like, it could go in so many ways. Yeah.
I had a theory when he gave the power back to Turbo Granny. I noticed there's like a little white, like light, like trail of light. I was thinking that maybe she exchanged the good karma, the Neko cat karma, to him, and then she got her powers back or something. Because for him to be powerless right now, of all this crazy world destroying shit just around him and people and all these aliens, he needs something to protect them, a charm at that. So he might end up having the good luck. I know some people probably feel like, oh, that's very Mickey. I mean, hey, he be doing.
You gotta get it how you live, man. I don't care. War is war, bro. You get your dubs how you get your dubs, bro. There's like some people talk about fairness in a battle, bro. It's a battle, bro. Like, what you mean, man?
Battle.
You know what I mean? Like,
the curse specifically mentioned humans in this world. They have increased durability because
their durability is wild.
So even baseline human is relatively strong. It would take a severe kick from a yokai or an alien blaster shot just to do any significant damage. I was so shocked during the Space Globalist arc when people are just tanking missiles.
Yeah. Yeah, just, for fun. Bro, even like the kicks that like Okran was doing to well, I call her Jet now because we don't know her actual name, but the one that
that's fine. That's what we call her.
With teaming them and stuff. Like when he did that whole kick and everything, I'm thinking in a normal setting, even if you have these powers, your foot's cooked. Yet they just did that with ease and just blasted somebody miles away completely. I'm just like, okay, that's what we're just doing. Or just some of the attacks that like when Vomola got stabbed, like obviously like if they didn't go and help her out in that moment, she probably would have been finished. But just like the brutality and damage in that arc, it's like, oh my god, bro, like you throw a bus at somebody and it's just like we're okay after. Like, damn.
I watch Invincible and it's just carnage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. It's like, what are we trying to do? Are you trying to top something? Like, what are you trying to prove? Like,
yo, what's up, Sherm?
Yo,
it's never late.
Not facts.
But seriously, the durability is crazy. Like, what are we made of? Nanotech? We just made out of nanotech? Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, listen, the way that Ludgers was talking about that whole stuff there, I'm just like, who knows, man? Because like we could all have something. I expect the aliens to have some more of that, just because again, it's more of a property that they're probably more used to than anything else. But going back to the thing with Okran, I think the other thing, like why I kind of believe the way I believe like him being the alien thing too, is the fact that we don't got nothing about his backstory or like his family. Like I know the stuff we got him as a kid in school and stuff, but like it feels like the fact that we're almost 200 chapters in and we don't even know where he lives. We don't even know where he resides or anything. You know, who does he go home to? Never, you know what I'm saying? Parents, siblings, nothing. Aunts, nothing, bro.
I came from bacteria.
Yeah, so it's just like for me, it's just I also feel like going back to what Avante was saying too about the bacteria thing with the Count and stuff, and how he was like talking about the thing, because then we saw how that related to what Koyuki was doing with her ability to lure the flies and all that. I felt like that conversation was also like, I generally feel like Okran's storing something away that he has no idea about, that eventually once it comes to the surface, it's like, oh my god, this is who I am. Of course I have this interest in aliens and stuff because god damn it, this that's who I am. That's what I am. Like, you know?
Something sealed away. Oh, who could reach in and grab it?
Only one. His one and only, bro. Like, you know
Lock
what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm saying, bro, like if you look at his name, it's to me, it's like we know how brilliant Tatsu is when it comes to writing these character stories and just like the lore of the stuff and just bringing things up and how everything makes sense after, right? I felt like paying attention to the name and the like that kind of stuff, the storage house, lock house, whatever and stuff. I felt like there has to be a reason why he chose that name specifically, not just for the comedic purposes, but also for the other stuff that it could add into. And I think that would be quite a crazy reveal. And again, the only other series I know has done something similar to that is Tokyo Ghoul. And if you know what I'm possibly referring to without actually spoiling the certain events, it's like, yeah, it can reach those levels to me. And I feel like that would be the thing that takes Dandadan to like the next possible level of it being like, oh my God, you need to see what's going on weekly. If you weren't here right at the beginning, that's on you. But now you have no choice. You need to be here and see what's going on. So I feel like that's going to be a moment that we're going to probably remember for a long time if that's the direction that Tatsu wants to go with it.
And that's another part to it too. His name, Ken Takakuta, is supposedly an actor. I feel like that's in itself is a hint that he might be an alien or something. Because like, why do you have this specific actor name? Like, did you somehow, I don't know, like once we get to his backstory, did you like, I don't know, just wake up here, you seen the name, okay, I'm gonna use this as my name, or did your parents give you that name because maybe they're aliens? Maybe they thought, well, we'll just give him this name and then I don't know, we're gonna just head out, go explore the cosmos, leave him here, and then they never return because he was calling out for aliens. So is it like an ET situation or something similar to that? I don't know.
Have you heard of the Golden Record, Laz?
No, I haven't. I want to say it sounds familiar, but I haven't. So please enlighten me.
So it was a space expedition that humanity decided to essentially put a little biography of humanity engraved into this golden record. So obviously the I forget what it's called, but the Da Vinci, I think it's called the Centurion Man. It has just the general outline of what male and females look like. It has our position in the solar system. It just has information about Earth on how other intelligent species could find us. And the reason why they engraved it into gold is because it's such a great conductor of electricity. And then in addition to that, it doesn't weather too much. So that was a satellite that we sent out into space. Now, another thing that I think is really cool and kind of terrifying to think about is that humanity, since we started introducing radio waves and television on our planet, that has been broadcasted out into the cosmos. So Ken Takakura is an older actor, not necessarily a contemporary one. So theoretically, an alien species could have received these television radio waves out in the cosmos, and then 80 years later, they can show up once they find out where it's coming from.
Okay, I like it. I like that, man. Wow, because that would be something where we're explaining, like again, like we don't even know, like again, how old Ken could even be. Like he could be telling us an age and stuff, and then all of a sudden we found out he's like hundreds of thousands of light years old, possibly, and heard a broadcast, whatever, because somebody enjoyed it.
And that goes into the comedy of the series too. It's like,
absolutely would.
Just casually just said,
yeah, exactly.
You probably hold his glasses. I'm 10 million years old.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, facts. No, I would actually like that, honestly. Now that you put it in context. Wow, man.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit to the recent arc, more specifically the recent portion of this arc. So we got Sharknado, we got Eye of the Storm, and we have Trouble as it relates to the curse on Momo, Daiki, and Unji, all progressing more and more.
Yeah, man. And obviously with the current events right now, it's like, we just talked about right now with Vante and them, but like Seiko's current condition right now is not great. Obviously, she has broken ribs. She can't breathe too much, but, we're 30,000 feet, probably way more than that actually at this point in time, but the most recent chapter in the air. So, she can't be doing all that. Valmola currently stuck onto the plane as far as I'm concerned. So the Kito family decided to come back and be an ally of justice, even though that probably wasn't their intended mission at all. But honestly, man, this whole stuff has just been, it just tells you just how crazy this series generally is, bro, that we're fighting a typhoon human. Like hearing those words out there, a typhoon human with sharks in the damn air, like Sharknado. You know what I'm saying? I thought Snakes in a Plane was already the big thing that we're gonna get for this, but it's like, no, we're gonna throw every possible reference that we can. And now, like the literal eye of the storm. It's not just it's a freaking eye up in the sky. And I generally think it's setting up for a crazy moment between Gigi and Unji, because obviously we've seen there's a bickering battle between the two of them. Obviously for Momo, you know, obviously we know with Unji, and like he wants to just basically be friends with her and everything, and just appreciate the fact that, you know, helping him out with his current situation back then in Danmaru. And obviously, of course, we know his eyesight is now starting to dissipate as well. It's not just Momo that's going through it. Daiki, we know he's accelerating at an insane age and everything. But then you look at it from the flip side with Gigi. Gigi's known her in like entire life. Obviously, he treated her a certain way back when they're kids, but again, as kids, that kind of stuff happens. But now it's like he's trying to, and I'm hoping that's what Tatsu's trying to do as well, is that he's trying to be that friend for her without having love to come into the mix. And now it's like you're going up against somebody now that's outside of your group to try and like keep things intact. And now all of a sudden you found yourself in a situation where you have to work together, which I do think is going to lead to a tag team maneuver of, you know, the Umbrella mixed with the Evil Eye smashing through the eye itself and possibly landing in Shimane for all we know, because we're currently in the empty space right now with the whole stuff with the plane and everything. So everyone that's inside right now, the plane is just like, you know, normal days and everything, but outside of it, it's like, no, this could be catastrophic if things go south. So but yeah, no, this arc has been absolutely crazy. I can't believe the arc has been going on for as long as it's been going on for, because I assumed that like after what happened with Koyuki, because initially this was called the Piggy Princess arc before it converted into completely being the Kozuka Knives arc, and I would assume now this is going to be the Kozuka Knives saga for how long this has been going on for. But I'm very surprised with how long this has been going on for at the moment, and I could see it going on to like into next year possibly, just because of, again, we still need to see what's going on in Shimane, and then obviously we need to take care of things on the plane before we get there, and then, you know, is Okran's people going to rendezvous with them after and all that. So yeah, I mean, this next stretch of the year is going to be very telling of where things are going right now, because it feels like we were finished the first part of the story based when the Dandadan reveal happens, and now we're in the second phase. But how long that will be, it all depends on Tatsu. So
man, all I've been saying is Umbrella Boy and Evil Eye, they're gonna be best friends. Those kids,
I have of the belief too. I have so the belief, man. They were meant to be boys, bro. You know,
and that's another thing too. Another backstory. Evil Eye and Umbrella Boy, obviously, but with Evil Eye, we're gonna get into that in the anime really soon. This world is it's insane. It's just trauma everywhere for everybody, and I can't wait till we explore more characters. But in this arc specifically, though, we were trying to theorize like what this eye can be. We're kind of relating this back to Ken's theory early on in the manga about yokai protecting the planet, and maybe this like the eye or an eye of the planet or something like that. But who knows? Because it's interesting that it's pointed upwards, like the eye is looking out into space. So there should be a reason why it would do that. You would think that the eye would be like tilted toward like downwards or something like that, but it's watching outside of it. So maybe it has to do with like it protecting Earth in general, like whatever, if this is like one yokai or like a mixed group of yokai all around the Earth, like watching, observing, and making sure that aliens don't come and do whatever. Something like that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that's kind of like where it could go into as well, because obviously, like we were saying earlier before, the world's being protected by the yokai and everything. So if like the second that anything gets breached, even just by a little bit, strengthens the aliens' pursuit of trying to get onto the planet and cause an all-out invasion, which we probably would not survive whatsoever, regardless of what powers we may obtain and what things we might have. We will probably get cooked. You know what I'm saying? I mean, listen, Reiko,
I need you, Reiko.
Bro, can you imagine, like, as you're just saying, Switchy, about this possible Galactus, like, octopus, like, thing going up against Reiko? It's like, I love Reiko, but oh my god, would she possibly get bodied in the mirror? Possibly,
she's Naruto running all over the tentacles. I'm just saying.
Hey, bro, I'll take it as long as we get the home teams out, bro. That's all that matters, man. Well, you know, I mean, the way you put that there too, I actually never took that in consideration. That's part of the defense field possibly for the world, because I just assumed initially when we got the typhoon thing, because we saw like the nose, the lips, the eyebrow, and stuff, all that thing. I had thought that was the fairy tale card that we saw that Misadachi that gave back. She was literally mugged, getting back that power and stuff for Count Saint-Germain by that guy, and I figured that was the same person that was probably in control of the typhoon. So I mean, if they were to go down and we find out there's no person, then definitely strengthens your idea right there that it's a mechanism that's actually protecting the world itself, and we just unfortunately ran into the like you're not supposed to be here kind of thing because this is bigger than anything else that we have to handle. But if it's not related to them, and it's going to be possibly like someone that I think it's that guy that we met with Unji's dad, with Bega, and with Adachi prior here, probably taking care of him first and then go into what after. But I do like the idea that you were saying though, Vontae, because I feel like with that, it's like it opens up something in the series that even though we talked about for a little bit at the very beginning when Okran put it out there, it's like it was still a big like thing to find out. I was like, oh my god, like the aliens could evade us and stuff, but we haven't dealt with that issue because we've been dealing with all the other stuff going on. So like it takes our little problems and it's like we can put that aside because that's the big problem that we got to be worrying about. So
right.
One connection that I made for that reveal that the human typhoon was actually a cryptid and not the fairy tale card yokai guy or by proxy is that yokai, or specifically cryptids, they have a method of replication.
mm-hmm.
So if we remember the Mongolian death worm, it had kids underground. Now, if we think about this human typhoon cryptid, theoretically, it could replicate. And that would allow the barrier to continuously get stronger, because one unfortunate thought about technology in this world is that it's going to advance to a point to where organic entities like us will no longer be viable on this world. It's all going to be AI, machines, so on and so forth. So the fact that the cryptids themselves, if they're part of that spiritual barrier around the earth, can continue to get better, stronger, more of them over time, that does benefit us. I'm just curious if this was a random happenstance or if someone sicked this thing on us like a dog. I'm not quite sure if it's just like over the waters of Shimane, because they did make a mention of the god of Shimane potentially rejecting them. So are they potentially rejecting them because Evil Eye is on the plane and Evil Eye can be sensed through the spiritual energy? Is it something in Momo because she has very unique powers that could be cross-dimensional?
Possibly,
The hands of God.
Yeah, I mean, that is true, though, because I mean, I have to go back and see the panel for myself, too. But yeah, I'm actually seeing it right now in chapter 195, when she's like, does the god Shimane refuse us? And it's like, no, the god of Zuma will accept anybody at all. The god would never refuse people like this. So it feels like, I think, if anything, if we were to be... the situation was closer to the actual temple itself, then maybe they would get involved, which kind of tells me that like if like we eventually get to the temple, which I do think is going to happen by the next like milestone chapter 200, I feel like then it's going to be like not as a long sequence of stuff that I can see going on, unless you get the involvement of Council and Jermaine, Jet possibly coming in, because we know they bounced just now from the whole stuff of Okran, and Tatsu definitely owes me a backstory with that character, because that one panel alone already went into my emotional bag afterwards, bro.
The
Literally,
first page. Like, Laz, we alternate on like volume read-throughs, so I think Vontae read that. I was like, oh boy, I really hope we get like a full chapter of Jet's backstory.
One page.
First page, ripped off the Band-Aid, never to be seen again.
Yeah, bro. And I'm just like, oh my god. It's like, can you imagine? That's for a character that we consider to be a side character that's gonna have like a berserk level backstory. All of a sudden, just like you don't follow through. I mean, there has to be a reason why you didn't follow through. Is that because they're probably going to end up getting involved afterwards with the counts, and then like, because as we saw when they first came back after, and Saint Germain was just saying, hey, listen, I can help you out because obviously you can't deal with the gravity here, so I'm going to bestow you this suit in exchange for helping me out. And then eventually she's going to probably end up turning on them, because I had initially thought that they were going to end up linking up where Vomola's group was going to be, because if there's anybody that was going to have a problem to deal with Jet, was going to be Vomola, especially like if they got an understanding of them. It's like, well, how does Vomola feel? Because you joined up with those people that were purposely the reason the Sumerians went through what they went through back in the day. And I say back in the day, it was just like hundreds of years, all that kind of stuff, right? But it is going to be interesting to see like where they come back into the mix of that. But yeah, man, I mean, there's so many things we could discuss on that current arc stuff right now, but Yeah, you guys take it there. My brain's already just overjammed just because just thinking about that backstory that should be.
Let's see. I don't know, man. I feel like we kind of theorized about this too before. In some kind of way that Sanjime was going to recruit one of the kids in the cast, whether it's like by force, possession, something.
Yeah.
And we were thinking about Gigi, because Gigi is at a point right now in the story where he's the one who is the most, I'll just say, pressed right now. Like the stuff with Momo, he's trying to protect her, and he's kind of, his emotional state. And then obviously when it comes to taking accountability over Evil Eye, like if Evil Eye were to ever do anything crazy right now, that was kind of his responsibility, because he, said that he can stay and he'll deal with him. But also, even just a hint for him being a PSG fan,
that I still can't believe, bro. I saw that there. I'm like, there's no way this author's just playing with me, bro. Like, you put Neymar in a thing, like, come on, bro. There has to be a reason, and here we are after, right? So, yeah, it's just really cool there from Tatsu. But I do actually want to bring up, though, with you guys, like, regarding like the current arc. Obviously we get to Shimane, because I feel like that portion that we're about to get into right now with the current arc, I feel like it's going to be foreshadowing for something that will probably be like part of the end game of the story. And what I'm hoping, I'm assuming all three of us are hoping that Momo, well, in a sense of like, so when we were told about the temple, is that this was supposed to be a place where, I could be wrong in the context, for marriage and all that and stuff, where couples kind of like, this is where their holy matrimony, this is like the culmination of it all and stuff, that they're going to be like wed and stuff. And I feel like that, like just seeing that for Momo, because obviously she knows she's going there, but if Okran were to pull up, I feel like that would be the way of like, when the next time that we come back here, that's the setting that's going to be there for their actual marriage. So I would love that to be the thing that's the reason why, because it feels like specifically, I know we're going there for the hammer to return Momo back to her regular size, but once that little information was put there from Tatsu, I feel like there is an indicator that eventually this is going to be a setting that we're going to come back to at some point in the story beyond all the stuff that's going on, because that could be where the story could actually end off, getting to see that marriage happen in front of the temple between Okran and Momo.
See, I think it's going to be an inversion. I think they're going to lose Momo in Shimane. I think that's when she's officially going to disappear.
Yeah.
And then potentially Okarun, even based off of the theory that he could be alien in nature, he could be the only one of the group that remembers her.
Yeah.
Seiko might forget her grandchild. Gigi might forget the lover. We might have Vamola. She's already forgotten Momo for all intents and purposes.
Yep.
So I would really love it if that's the location specifically where love is lost. And then, like you said, end game, that's where they rekindle that. If they get married, if, whatever goes on from there. I think that'd be a pretty cool little flip on that, because we would lose, but also it would have a different meaning at the end of the series if it meant those two getting married at the end of it.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a question. What do you think of the I forgot, the Woodlands alien? What was it, episode 2? Said that they broke the promise. What do you think he's referring to?
We've talked about
you humans broke the promise. I don't think we circled back to that in the story yet at all.
I mean, if we go by the context for how long humans have been alive for, then that kind of gives us an indicator of when the first time the yokai have probably linked up with them at some point, because it does feel like a human yokai thing rather than any involvement between the aliens. So, like, in terms of promise, maybe it's like in terms of like protecting them, from like people maybe using them and stuff. And obviously that, of course, will probably factor into Counseling Jermaine basically trying to like take the yokai themselves to the powers, which is what he's doing right now with the Kuzuka knives. So maybe that's like an early reference of like, this isn't the first time that humans have kind of like broken their word with them, because they currently are going through that right now with Counseling Jermaine. He looks perfectly human, but he's for sure like an insane. We don't even know if that's his actual form, which is the other thing too. He could literally be put up in front, and all of it, like, how we've been seeing this whole thing in the background of like the architect. I forget what the name. What was the orchestrator? The orchestrator is basically what they've been calling him and stuff in the background. I always thought, okay, there's no way this gonna be a separate character. It still was gonna be him, but then we found out afterwards it was not. It was that loser teacher. Whose name I'm glad to forget, because we would have bozo that guy ended up being Murakami. Damn it, I remembered him. I had to remember the worst time. But that whole thing though, you're saying with the promise, I definitely think it's probably back in relation with what Count Saint Germain probably did back in the day, like from the earliest days possible with the yokai, and that's probably what the woodland meant. So it's like one of those things where it's like we're not gonna know the full reference until we get to like way further in the story where it's like, okay, that's what bro probably meant. Precisely. It's like, oh, that's what he meant after. Because it would be funny if we saw the woodland came back at some point in time, like, you know, and they ran into Count Saint Germain. It's like, oh, that's what you were talking about back in the episode 2. It's like cool, but I definitely think that's probably what the thing is. Because outside of that, I don't know what other reference they could have made. It's like, you know, because if there was something, I think we would have been dealing with a far worse issue. And then like at the same time, would the yokai be willing to protect the world, knowing that humanity kind of like, you know, went against their hands? Versus like, you know, aliens are coming in right now to invade us. So what matters more to you, this promise or protecting the world that you're currently living on right now? And like, if it was more so like protecting right now what's going on, the promise wouldn't be like a big factor. But because it is, it's like, okay, it definitely feels like there was an infiltration by an alien posing as a human, causing the problems. Only person that currently fits the bill right now for us, Count Saint Germain.
2 questions on that same topic. One, what do you make of the fact that we have yet to see an official government force from any government, whether it's the United States, whether it's Japan? I think at this point, I'm quite surprised. We haven't seen like the Men in Black or some sort of special ops type of people, unless Seiko is a member of said organization.
Yeah, and I think with that one's interesting, right? Because, you know, as we were bringing up earlier, you know, like when the chance of the series opening up the world and we're going to see like outside of Japan, I feel like that would be the opportune time, because I feel like if they're going to be based anywhere, it's going to be the United States. Because like I haven't done my own research to know like if Japan has like their own kind of thing going on too, of like their own research and stuff. And like when I think of that kind of stuff, it reminds me more of the United States. Like they're going to be more tapped in with all those things that are going on with the abnormalities and the oddities, that kind of thing. So I feel like they will probably like get linked into the story once we kind of have like that one moment where it's like, okay, the story is going to open up to beyond Japan. It's not going to be reserved over here unless something major would have happened that would have an effect on the world that they have an eye on. Then they kind of jump in. It would kind of remind me in some ways of like in JJK when they had like outside interference from like all the people from like America, India, all those other groups that were getting involved in this current events in Japan and stuff. It feels like they are waiting for a moment for that to happen, precisely to that to happen. But then I also bring up the thing too of like the reptilians and stuff. I feel like if they're gonna have all those kind of groups, there's a reason that they're being waited right now to bring them in. And I feel like there's enough stuff that Okuran, just by the magazine and all the stuff that they brought up, where it's like if you were to link them back in as early as the beginning of the story, they've already been told you. It's a matter of when's the right time. Because I've always been a believer of like the right time, right place. That stuff matters completely. You just don't want to throw something in there for the sake of having it in there for shock value. It has to have some kind of real connection in what you're actually doing with the story. And it's something that I could see definitely happening. When it will happen? Could happen as early as the end of this arc, depending on how things go from here. It could happen as early as maybe the next arc after. But I don't think it's something anybody can rule out possibly. It's something I do think Tatsu wants to definitely employ at some point in time in the story.
That's incredible. It actually leads into my second question. So, what if the woodland alien was not talking to humanity? He was talking to either Momo or Okarun specifically.
That they broke the promise? Then specifically. No, I never... Yo, speak on that to me. Like,
Okay.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
So... obviously, Momo has a once-in-a-universe type of power. She can reach across dimensions. Sanjime is absolutely salivating over her power. Like, that is the one power outside of maybe Okarun's that he refuses to give up on. He sent multiple forces after him, and he just keeps trying. Now, in regards to that special forces, that secret service type of thing, what if Seiko sealed that entity or that power inside of Momo's body, and the woodland alien was actually talking directly to whatever was sealed inside of Momo?
Okay. I don't know. I mean, it could be plausible just because of like how quick of like a one and done thing it was, but then like it could also have that counteract problem like long term. Like, I mean, let's say like if she had that still within her, as like right now we're in the story, right? And maybe that could be something that might have protected her from like having to go like smaller and everything. Maybe like there's something that anyone could like throw in there. That's what Tatsu would have done. But like, I mean,
well, what's interesting about that, Laz, is her power is still normal sized.
yeah,
it has not shrunk.
Nothing's
with her
changed. Yeah,
as the curse. So the curse is affecting her physical body, but not necessarily her powers.
right.
So
yeah. You know, I know. I can't put a nail on it actually with this one because it's like it feels like it does make sense that Seiko would have done something like that, or whatever, to like it was like the whole thing with the promise and stuff. So yeah, no, I can't really make heads or tails on that one actually, because it kind of felt like if it wasn't directly to humanity and you're talking to them, like I don't know. I think I don't know. I feel like if I go too deep into it, I'm probably gonna be stuck on it after. But I think it's more so towards the actual thing with humanity rather than that. But then that, I don't know. Then it's like I just said right now, like a moment ago. That's something we probably won't know until like later on in the story. But I'm like, is that really? I don't know. Like, is that something like Tatsu wants to do?
Her power itself, like you said, Twitchy, one of one. And we haven't even seen her do it at the peak. The peak that we know of is like chapter, the first chapter of the series. Yeah. But she might go even beyond that, which she probably will in the end game of the series. Yeah. Which is definitely not a power that's passed down by genetics. I wouldn't think so. Honestly, I don't know what kind of. Maybe it has something to do with the Dandadan or the gods of the land or whatever, which probably might be our next topic. What do you think about the gods of the lands? Do you think that they are a different entity than yokai are? Do you think that they're kind of like one and the same? What you thinking about them?
I mean, it feels like for me, like they have to be way more tied into like aliens themselves, because like there's part of me that wants to like look at the flip side, like okay, where's the yokai involvement that I can see with this? But then I feel like at the same time for Tatsu to put that in there, it feels like it's gonna go beyond that. So maybe they could do something like a mix of the two. But I feel like there's the specifics, right? You have like the one thing in the middle, and then there's like I believe there's like 10 that's all around it, which is interesting because if you put Momo at the center of it, and then you have like Okura and Gigi, Kinta, Vamola, Unji, right? And then like with Rin, with Koyuki, you would have like enough for like, depending if you add Turbo Granny in there, you would still have enough for like 3-4 members possibly in there. And then maybe that's like a requirement, like you need a group to access what Dandadan it is. And maybe that's also what Count Saint Germain is doing too, by extracting all these powers, is to have the allies needed to be able to go in there and like, because he says he's in the pursuit of this thing. What this thing is supposed to be like the end all be all, I guess, of like the abnormalities and all that, right? The paranormal.
So the way that it was showcased, Laz, do you think the Dandadan is a weapon? Do you think it's a group of beings? Do you think it is a barrier that Okarun theorized was yokai? Do you think it's something that set up the barrier between the real world, the empty space, the void? What do you think the Dandadan represents? Because those were all very holy figures that we saw from that panel. And the gods of the land, one thing that I've always been supremely interested in is the fact that Seiko and Turbo Granny refused to go back with spirit casting Okarun to protect the granddaughter. They were like, no, we have to pray. It's part of the contract. So those gods of the lands, they do have power that they can grant you, but God forbid, if you cross them, they will smite you.
Yeah, and so I feel like again with Seiko, it's like we don't know like what her actual like affiliation overall is in terms of like is she working with another group or something. So that's something. I mean, even like with the other guys with Mosa, no, not with Mosa, with I know he starts with an M, but the other priests and stuff that's with them.
Yeah, and you're talking about
I don't want to say Mochi because I know 1,000% it's not Mochi, but it starts with an M. But the other guy, like the one that was taking care of Evil Eye's underwear and stuff.
Oh, Majuro.
Manjiro. So
yeah,
with
Manjiro,
Manjiro. But with Manjiro, it's like, again, like that feels like the most obvious thing of like they're probably working alongside the same group or whatever, the outside thing. And maybe that is the reptilian group, maybe that is like the Illuminati or something, and that's what they're tied to. And it would make sense of why Seiko hasn't been involved in certain stuff, because it's like if she gets involved, it's almost like a Deus Maxia where it's like, okay, well, show's over, you know, like it's, you just got her in there, you're gonna get taken care of and after. But in terms of the actual thing, I want to say like maybe like on a simpler level, it's like kind of like, you know, if it's like a land of the gods kind of thing, whatever, maybe it's like a paradise, your wishes are granted. It's like the holy enlightenment. Like when you go there, everything that you ever wanted could be there because you achieved nirvana per se. So it could be like something like that. I don't know about the gate thing because of the fact of like, is it going to be like from one world to another? Maybe it's like, you know, if you think about like the TV show Loki, you know how it deals with like the different branches and timelines and stuff. Maybe that's like the main hub essentially of like, if you go through this, you will have access to everything and do whatever you want. And it's not going to affect timelines or whatever, or you can have an effect on it based on the fact that you're the one that's in possession of it. But I do think it's something along the lines of like having like full enlightenment control, whatever, made that kind of thing. I think that's kind of what I can see it being.
Have any thoughts, Fonte?
Something that I recently had said a few streams ago. I was saying how Momo's powers, like the hand sign thing, something that Seiko does, something that she told Momo to do since she was younger. And then looking at the Dandadan, all the hand signs from all the deities that are, you know, depicted there. I don't know. I feel like she does have like a god. It's like some kind of contract that she has that she doesn't know, kind of like what we're talking about with Ken earlier. Like he doesn't know his origins, but he's just, you know, this is normal or whatever. I don't know why exactly Seiko, if she did do something like a Minato Kushina thing, like with Naruto and the Nine Tails, why she would do that. But I mean, I don't know. I think Momo's power is definitely related to whatever the Dandadan is. Seems, you know, just otherworldly, both her power and the Dandadan, whatever it is.
Yeah, like some kind of key, possibly, like,
yeah, something like that.
Which again would be weird because then it's like you also like, again, what I brought up earlier with Ulcaran and his actual name and the meaning behind it and stuff, right? In the craziest way, it's like by unlocking Ulcaran, you've also unlocked Dandadan. And those are the two most important pieces, that you have the person that has something within them that can access. Because this is why I still believe there's no chance in the world Count Saint Germain is that gullible to believe he's after Turbo Granny's powers. There's something definitely deeper that he has to be aware of, and that's exactly why he's going after Okran. Which is why, you know, as much as I think, like, you know, we all assume that like there's a chance that Momo can disappear, I generally think it's going to be the opposite, and that Okran's the one who ends up biting the bullet. So like when Momo gets back to her normal self, it's like, hey, where's Okran? Dead body right in front of us. Because it would flip the whole thing of, okay, well, Momo is usually the one, okay, we'd be worried about Okran's going to deal with whatever, but then it's going to be the vice versa. Okran's the one that now is literally in that state, and it's like, okay, what is Momo going to do to try and help him out after, right? Because before, it was Okran trying to help her during Don Manra to get her out. Now I feel like the other way around has to happen, where Momo's going to be the one go out there and save Okran. But again, whatever that thing is inside of him might actually give him like the other part of the power that may access into what Dandadan really is.
So what do you make of the fact that in the conversation between Okarun and Sanjime, that Okarun did admit defeat? That was one specific necessary step that Sanjime said had to be done before a power could be stolen. So Okarun did concede.
Yeah.
So do you think it was a misdirect in terms of Sanjime was maybe like aiming at a dartboard and just threw it on the wrong color? Or what do you make of with the thought you just said about there being something locked inside of Okarun? Is it not applicable to the Kozuka knives, or what?
Well, I think that's probably what it is I feel like for him to be able to extract it, he has to have two options. Number one is having control of Momo to be able to do so, and I think that's going to be tougher to do because the fact that we know Turbo Granny is still going to be on about. Seiko could easily get involved. That's, I think, another factor, that he's probably aware of all these other groups that are near with Momo. It's like he has to be very careful how he goes about that. Whereas of Okran, it's like, again, because we don't know what his family situation is, what his siblings or what anything in there, he could easily be alone anytime, as we saw in the hallways and stuff, the early start of the arc, and could have done something from there. But at the same time, it's like if you cause some kind of scene, well, everyone's gonna go and jump you. At least that's aware of what's going on. But I do think with the whole thing there, it's like I think again, like I generally think he's aware of something that's within him, and like by using that code and stuff or whatever of like you have to admit defeat and all that. I think that's something that is probably a prerequisite of the Kozuka knives, and that is what you have to do to be able to get it out. Otherwise, your other option is go get Momo, find a way to extract it. Because I do think that's also a possible option where, let's say the Kozuka knives are somehow destroyed, or let's say he can't get to them. We know he has the Asura, the main sword and stuff that, like, again, they're broken down the pieces and so using the Kozuka knives. He could easily, for all we know, stab Momo and then use that power to open up Okurun, or vice versa. He can stab through Okurun, get out that thing, and then use the Kozuka knives to start jabbing out whatever's inside of him as the second access to the actual Dandadan. So, I mean, it can go so many avenues, man.
That's interesting too, because even when Count Saint Germain first appeared from our characters against the Fairy Tail card, he referred to Okurun by name. He called him Ken Takakuta. So I find that really interesting.
And that was the thing, is that why would you specifically call him that? You could have just said, because again, it's like it would have been weird, right? You call him Okura and stuff, because it's like, the kids are saying it, the friends are saying it, it's whatever. But when the adults are saying it, it's like, I don't know. But then for him to specifically call him by that, like Takakuta-san, whatever, Ken Takakuta, it's like, you know him. Yep. 100%, 1000% know him, bro.
I didn't ask him to just have this deep conversation randomly in the hallway of the school. It's like,
with the bacteria.
Bacteria.
I thought he was specifically talking about him before it got into this with Koyuki, but I also still think like it's talking about everybody in general, and that just shows you how vast knowledge, not just himself, but how far he's willing to go about these things to get what he wants. Like, this is the type of character that he is. He's literally going and getting people like Murakami, Adachi, and just these random grunts or whatever, like the guy we saw with the bowl and stuff back in the restaurant and everything, right? He's willing to use people's pain to force them into doing his own deeds. And if a guy like that were to have a backstory somehow that is like depressing enough to be like, wow, and this will lead you to go down this path, would be quite something from Tatsu. So yeah,
he's a mystery, and it's crazy. Like, Tatsu is such a great writer because, like I said earlier, in other series you're like, well, okay, this is dragging on. Who is this guy? What is he doing? But no, I think that it works so well because our characters have no idea who he is. They're not even sussing him at all. They don't think he's a threat. They don't know who this guy is. Their memories are being manipulated.
The memory stuff too is even more interesting too, because it's like, obviously with that's the Mickey that he's essentially getting all the time that allows him to do the stuff he's doing. Because if someone just remembers off the strength, it's like, oh, I know what you were doing. Everything ends like that. So that also has to be explained too. Is like, how does he do that? Is there like a radio wave or something that he can emit that allows some people to like, or allows, but essentially takes away people's memories of him? Does he have some kind of device out there? Is it something that just is a non-stop?
Talking about the frequencies, right?
Yeah,
frequencies. Because he also talked about how he wasn't good at noise cancellation.
Right.
So I think it's kind of like a sonar type of thing that he has to look at a target, emit a sound frequency, maybe even from the bacteria within him. But what I wanted to bring up is the fact that Sanjime is quite contradictory. He doesn't always align with what we think his goal is. Yeah. Like he'll do something in one regard, and then how I best described it is Sanjime is not the same as Count Saint Germain. That is not the same as the silhouette or the orchestrator.
Yeah.
So those three sides of the triangle really makes me think about who has their hand on the wheel. Is it a fight for dominance inside of his body with bacteria, with his soul, if he has power set, or if he's ingested all these Kozuka knife powers already?
And he stutters and like says weird stuff randomly at times. It's like,
what did he
wrong?
say that one time?
He was like, no, something. I was like, what?
There's some dumb stuff. I'm just like, bro, what's wrong with this guy, man? But it also plays into what you're saying too, Touchy, about like, let's say if there is somebody outside, like Saint Germain as like the actual like antagonist and stuff, it would be interesting because this whole time we're looking at a character that is supposed to be the main villain, the big bad of the whole story, and they have all these inner conflicts and stuff. And like, when I think of like the actual main villain, they feel more grounded, centered in the form of like, there's no like thing that's like, an obstacle within them that kind of changes what their goalposts are really supposed to be or what they're trying to go after. So that's also, I feel like, another indicator that Tatsu could be put in there that maybe Saint Germain might not actually be the main villain, because he has his own problems with himself, but that also because of the fact that he was produced by something else that's going to eventually serve as the big evil after.
I just can't get over the fact he has memory manipulation powers, but has memory loss himself.
Yeah, as I'm saying, it's just like, it's so wild to me. It's like, how, like,
Did
I guess
hold up a mirror.
Yeah, I'm saying, bro. Like, I guess that's how it has to work, bro. So that, you know, because if he was just doing all this and he was keeping all his memories too, this is Yoshikage Kira literally a Dandadan. It literally would that.
That's why I think he, like, the theory that I have of him going to the void and somehow making it out, because when the void was introduced to us, when Turbo Granny talked about it, immediately you're like, oh, it's over. Once you go there, it's over. People forget about you. You don't exist anymore. But what if somebody did come back and his powers
forget about themselves, because everyone forgets about you.
Yeah, and then he has powers, memory manipulation, which is, I mean, quite similar to what the Void could probably be. And the fact that Turbo Granny immediately, like the way that she reacted when she seen that this guy is back, or it made it seem like he returned. He shouldn't be here. All of her memories of him came back. It got like reset it because he just came out of nowhere or something, or landed on Earth.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but we've been saying this for a long time. He's going to be I think he has the potential of being one of the most compelling antagonists in modern shonen, because it can go either way. He could be the most vile, or he might actually have a tragic backstory that, like you said, that made him go down that path.
Yeah.
So it's going to be crazy.
He's definitely going to be someone, like, it's so weird for me, man, where it's like, I'm supposed to hate this character because of all the stuff that he's done. But, like, he is the epitome of rawness and swag. I literally bought Offspring Volume 19 when it came out just because he's so raw, bro. Like, bro, this guy's out here. Bro, the way he, like, comes in as Sanjime itself, like, when he was going through the building and then the train, and then acting like he's some kind of teacher, like, I've been here before. Stuff. It's like,
it's the sensei show up and do everything before you die. But
yeah, bro. And it's just like, when I see all this stuff happening, I'm just like, bro, how can I hate this character? And then I see this stuff like he essentially, well, by proxy, using Murakami to do the girl, like, you know, Kuyuki, and obviously the other girls too that have gone through some of his stands as well. What he's done to Adachi, what he done to the dude, the bowl and stuff after. It's just like, there's so many things of evil that he has committed. But again, it's like, evil commits evil. There is something that made you walk down that path. And I feel like his backstory, whatever the heck it could be, it obviously explains who he is, but it tells you just how deep the level of evil can go, because it doesn't just retain to just humanity, doesn't retain to just yokai, but it just goes beyond the stars, is like everything that's there. And I'm so curious what Tatsu is going to do with that, because I feel like, obviously, like, Okuran's another big one where it's like, get to know more about him, his character and stuff. But I feel like if there's any character right now in this story that you can go so far with in terms of your explanations and expanding who they are as a character, the Count himself, man, is just like, that's just like the end goal of like all the stuff that we know and Tatsu is capable of doing when it comes to explaining these characters.
Illuminati, man. Him and Lutrus, they're part of the Illuminati.
Man, the fact that we haven't even seen him in that long too, it's like, because there was another thing too, because I think Twitchy, we were bringing it up too before with the triangles and stuff after, right? Yeah. Because we know Lutrus has it. I think Payasi or Kashimo, I forget which one it was that had it. They both had it. Okay, yeah. So they had it on there too as well, which is very interesting that they had it. And I believe as of right now, those are the only confirmed characters we know that has those current markings. Those are somebody I'm forgetting.
It was in the magazine that Okarun was reading.
Right.
And in that same magazine, it had Bahamut. So I have no clue entirely what they're doing. Is it spiritual? Is it humanity dipping into moral darkness? Is it bacteria? I keep coming back to that question. It's like a running joke. It's just like, oh, it's bacteria, or
it might be like two factions that derive from the same thing, kind of like like an offshoot. It's like, as you know, I'm talking about like NWO.
Yeah, the red, yeah. Bro, because I was even thinking too, like regarding it, because I know like Seiko specifically going to Kashimo and Payase to get help of what was going on. And we know with them, of course, they have like the triangles and stuff. By proxy, I would assume that like Seiko is aware of the affiliation of the group that they're in, because it's like it would be very weird if they didn't. Or Seiko, again, because we haven't seen her like with anything specifically. Like I have to go back and do reads to make sure I'm not missing a detail on clothing articles and stuff, that like there's anything with a triangle involved with her, because then it's like, okay, they're all part of the same group. But then it's like, if the Count has something to that, if Ludris has something to that, if Bayase and Kashimo has something like that. Because it's like, Bayase and them, I felt like they're going to be involved at some point with Momo's group, because again, it's like, considering all the obstacles that they're going through right now, they probably are the ones that need the most help possibly. But then at the same time, it's like, if you were to get a heel turn and they were to flip completely over and work with the Count themselves, I mean, that would be absolutely heartbreaking, because getting to see the yin and yang, the Lucius and the Ho of like, you know, Dandadan just pull up the way that they did in that whole fight in the restaurant was some of the coolest. Like, because I like when they're saying the true power of curses, I'm just like, I'm in for this. Like, I can't wait to see what. And again, curses are a thing now in this series. Like, obviously we know about the yokai thing, but actual curses are now a thing in this story. And it's like,
guys,
we're actually
75 minutes in. We haven't talked about spirals. We haven't talked about astral projection. We haven't talked about the power of words, which is like all of them were critical to whatever they were introduced into the story. And that's to kind of wrap this up here. Seiko does know so much, but honestly, this series is the perfect, I don't want to call it a front runner. It's been set up so beautifully to where if Tatsu wanted to, and Shonen Jump allows him to, this could be the next 600, 700, 800 chapter series. And all the references to Oda, like especially with the mural, the fact that he had the mural on Vomolo's home planet before Oda released the mural in his series. Like, I know you guys have talked about that. I know what you are, Tatsu. That was insane to me, because I think I was really behind on One Piece, and then I caught up, and then I read that Dandadan chapter when we were catching up on the volume by volume basis. It blew my mind. I couldn't believe it.
I know, man. There's a lot of other series I always see too, like with One Piece. I know, like with Monogatari, another anime that I absolutely love, because it deals with like the folklore and like the different kind of like things, curses and all that kind of stuff. Which like some of them have seen them appearances from Monogatari into Dandadan as well. But it just I feel like there's so many series you can even think of that have connections to it, but like it stands out as like its own thing off the principle of what Tatsu's been able to accomplish, and for them to be almost 200 chapters deep into the story and lasting the test of time right now that they're doing right now, and just it's one of those, if you read it, you know how good this is. You know that this has the potential to be one of the all-time greats, and you're saying that conversation now because it made up to there. Back then it was just more so, what's its potential, how far it can go. We've seen so far it can go, but now it's like, what's that next stratosphere? That stratosphere, as you just mentioned right there, it could easily be the next One Piece. And I feel like manga as a whole, as much as like, you know, you want to keep things within a certain time frame, because not every story has to be long, but if there is one series I think that could reach that kind of stratosphere, it literally could be Dandadan. And I could see this going on early into the next decade potentially, just because of how much can go on, how much can be done, how much can be explored, while still going to the end goal of what it's going to be, which eventually will be those two that we've been following for so long in Momo and Okuran finally being at peace after bringing peace to everything around them.
Absolutely. Dandadan, One Piece. The names of the series are things, places, treasures, something, whatever. We know what you are, Tatsu.
Yeah, the facts.
You know, I'm doing the same thing Oda Sensei did. You know what? Dandadan, boom.
Yeah.
The mystery of it. But
all right, last sort of topic. We'll do favorite characters or favorite moments from the series.
Oh my god. Favorite characters. So you want to go like a 1 to 5, or like you just like one specific,
you
or
do whatever you want to do, Laz.
Oh my god. All right. I'll give you my 5 off the dome. I'll go and say number 1 for me is gonna be, I'll go for 5 to 1. So 5, I'll go and say Ira. I think she's really, like, now, especially like in the recent stuff, she's really stepped up. And I always liked her, but I feel like now she's like really stepping up into that realm of a character. Count Saint Germain in the 4, just off the rawness and swag of him. I just absolutely love the guy. Number 3, I'm gonna go and say Gigi, just because now after going back and rereading the Evil Eye content that's there and everything, like, because it's a toss up between him and the Vamola. I feel like one of those two could easily be in there, but Gigi kind of edges it out just because I feel like he's now in that proximity of like being, you know, that guy and stuff after, right? Especially what's going to be coming up, I feel like will help cement that. My number 2 would ideally be my number 1, but I can't disrespect my other guy. But number 2 is Unji. He's bro, that whole Daimara arc. My God, man, I have never been so emotionally invested in a character's whole thing. Like I want them to be crew. I want them to actually have the idea of what an actual family is, not delinquents, not gang signs. I want them to know what a family like, boy. So shout out to him. And then number 1, it's Okarun. That's my son, bro. My guy. I will go to the ends of the earth and defend that boy. If he gets put down and I gotta go jump in that manga and save him, I definitely will do that. That is my goal forever, bro. And then my favorite moment in the whole series is Okarun telling Momo I love you in the Danman run. I was sliding for weeks after that moment happened, bro. That's me. It's just like there's so many you can easily say, but that one to me, it's like obviously it leads up to what we'll hopefully get down in the story, but just him actually having the confidence and the will to say that in the dire straits. That's how you know the boy meant it. And it's like I love how Momo, like, even though she's like, oh, eventually when we go back to normal, we'll figure that out 300 chapters from now, who knows? But him saying that was such a huge moment for his character and just overall the story about some kid that started off everything not knowing how to talk to people properly, not being able to make communication, friends, connections, all that kind of stuff, to now being able to tell the person that since all the way back to with the 2 dolls and stuff in the junkyard and the whole thing about that, and then leading into that moment there, just cinema, bro. Like that to me, like when someone asked me what's Dandadan, that's Dandadan, not the Dandadan reveal of
I gotta change mine. Damn.
You know what I'm saying? Not the scriptures and all this stuff. Is Dandadan right there, boy? Like, oh man, I love this series.
What you got, Vontae?
Let's see. Favorite characters. It changes. The cast is really good. Like they all have their moments. It's just like we said with Ira, she's getting better and better. She's kind of climbing my list right now. She's been clutch. I'll just go with 3 so far, but like I said, interchangeable. Right now, Zuma. I really like Zuma. I like just his backstory, the way that he, he's somebody that doesn't. I like characters who've been through something where they don't blame other people for what they went through, their traumas. Even though he was a delinquent, he was still looking out. Like even when he was like really, really at his lowest, when he had the piercings and the bleached hair, he was still looking out for his friends. And even recently, a few chapters back, when the girl that the whole situation with her family or her parents and stuff, and then with him taking her in and all these other kids, like he's just goated. Another one I'm gonna say is Momo. I think Momo, she's absolutely been the clutchest character among them all. She's been thinking on her feet every single arc. She's funny. And it's just another thing too, when it comes to a lot of mangaka. This is just something that we've seen a lot, at least for shonen mangaka. When it comes to female characters, sometimes they just don't do a great job. But Tatsu is doing a magnificent job with Momo's character. And I just always like her power. Everything about her, she's just been dope. Third character I would say is probably I might have to go with I'm gonna go Okarun, pretty much for the same reasons. They both are just perfect for each other, just as a dynamic, the chemistry. That moment that you just said was actually one of my favorites. It was top 2 easily. Really top 1, honestly, because I was saying that every week, every stream that we had after that, or readings that we had after that, I was saying that, like, I like that he said that then, because a lot of other manga, they would say that, like, way in the end game of the series, where they actually confess their love. But I like that he did it at that point.
Yeah.
But the other moment I would say is the Reiko moment.
Oh, yeah.
The day,
bro.
The backstory.
Oh, my God, that's so good.
That's what really, I was like, okay, Dandadan is different, because the side characters in this story, it's like, for them to have, like, just like when we were talking about earlier, about episode 7 with Acrobatic Silky, that came out of nowhere, and that's still some of the best stuff of the manga, and that's not even nearly a main cast character right there. Like obviously aside from being Ira's yokai, but yeah, I will go with those two moments right there, and that's my top 3 characters.
I was gonna say, Kuchi, before you get to your thing, I just realized that I remember I didn't say that Momo was in the 5 and stuff. She's the infinity symbol, because I know someone might come across it like, where the hell is Momo? Momo's literally the infinity symbol, bro. I can't put a number on her. She literally is like the loop. She's top. She's a GOAT, bro. Like that's a whole different category.
It's like trying to rank All Might and Might,
no,
bro. Like,
no, man. I'm thinking, I'm like, I said Iris, and then I'm like, wait a minute.
Did I
like,
forget
no, I
someone?
definitely didn't forget the GOAT, bro. No, that's infinity symbol number 1, bro.
So I'm just gonna quickly give my top 5, but I'll give 2 moments that I absolutely love from this series, since there's a lot of overlap, because obviously we love a lot of the same characters. Number 1, Momo. Number 2, Zuma. Number 3, I probably got Okarun. Number 4, I have Turbo Granny. I feel like there's a lot more than meets the eye. Shout out to Mr. Optimus Prime. But I appreciate the tsundere-esque characters, especially when they're the grouchy, older, bitter type of characters that have seen it all. And then you have this cinnamon roll that is Momo, or you have this pure little angel that is Okarun, and it changes who you are. And I love the way that Turbo Granny left the series, even momentarily. It wasn't a tearful goodbye. It was, see you later. Just walks out the door. That's so on brand with her character. I love it. And then number 5, Ira. I love her little, oh, I'm a damsel in distress. I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Relax, Ira. But 2 moments. First of all, the tearful goodbye between Vamola and Manga. How they're looking across, hand up to the screen. I just know the anime is going to make me bawl at that. Yeah. I know the OST is going to play. It's going to be like some sound design of moving away out of the screen. Zoop. Oh, I just know it's going to hit. And then this one's an underrated moment, in my opinion, but it is when Zuma activates the umbrella power for the first time and saves the random kid that was drowning with his newfound dad. Because up until that point, he did not have any faith in humanity because of what his mother did. He didn't blame her for it, but he was at a critical point in his life to where if he decided not to move, he would never forgive himself. And it also goes along the lines of, that's why Brella Boy and his younger brother decided to give him the powers in the first place, is because he's strong enough to protect people. And he did in that moment. He saved both his new dad, and he also saved that kid that reminded him of his brother when he didn't have the opportunity.
Shout out police officer, man.
Yeah, man.
Bega, I think.
Bro, Masamichi Bega, bro. You know, oh man, what a father, bro.
Him and Rokudo, buddy cops.
yeah. Oh my god. Dude, I mean, you brought up right there that moment. I mean, I only put the one moment with the Okarun and the Vamola moment, but the other one really stood out to me, and it's just like, it's more of like in collective, because it's when Unji's saying goodbye to his family who are going to the other side because he's got to live, and then he's going in defending Okarun's side and stuff. And then he's basically saying, it's like, why aren't you hating your mother, this and that? It's like, oh, my mom literally gave her life to make sure that I was happy and everything. And he understood that now as we're going through, like, as the reader looking through the whole flashback and stuff. It's like, how could I hate her? And I'm like, I that moment's like, Unji's the goal for me, bro. Like, that's like, I absolutely love that character, man. Just like, and he's one of those where it's like, I want to see his absolute happiness at some point in time. I don't know if it's going to be with, the gang member girl that we were talking about before and stuff, that they took care of on after. I don't know if it's going to be with Koyuki. I don't know if it's going to be with Rin. It's going to be with somebody, damn it. He's going to be happy.
Theory on the street is that girl is actually Acro Silky's daughter.
Now, see, here's the thing I need to talk about with y'all, because I know we got a little bit of time and stuff, right? But isn't it very interesting that, if I'm mistaken, this has to go with Ira? Because remember when they were doing the whole thing with the powers and stuff? Because we knew from back then, where with Koyuki's flashback, we saw that she was in the thing. There's no way with the hair and stuff. Now, isn't it very interesting that there was the girls, like design, the hair thing, whatever, was in that moment telling me I think she has to be alive. Akro's kids gotta be alive, bro. Because I refuse to believe that now that Yon done that thing with Koyuki and then do that again with Iris thing during that fight again with Murakami, she has to be alive, bro. And if she is alive, it's like,
imagine.
How do you do that confrontation?
So
you know what I'm saying? It's like now you have her mom's power. Her mom lives in you, bro. Like, oh my god.
What is that girl's name? That is the delinquent that's underneath.
We never got her. We never got the official name. I tried. Trust me. The day the chapter came out, I tried my hardest to find something. I could never find anything. So she's like FUG something. I don't know. But anyways,
one thing, a dark thought is that she was sold into human slavery because from that scene, it's very implicit. But I got the impression that she had like ADHD or some sort of developmental disorder. She might be on the autism spectrum, something like that. And the way that her parents cast her off to the side, what type of parents does that?
That's the
one
thing
that I've absolutely loved about Vante's analysis of this series is he said this multiple times. The adults feel like adults and the kids feel like kids. So in their maturity levels, that's one thing I love about Zuma is he is a young adult. He's one of the older of the crew, and he is coming into his own as a man in terms of his responsibilities and what consequences his actions have. Now, that is directly opposed to how her parents treated her. I'm not saying there can't be bad parents in this series, of course. Yeah. But for them to discard her like that, it's almost like they didn't have any personalized connection to her.
That's what it felt like too at the same time. And it's like, again, like when we're looking at designs and stuff too, obviously you can indicate whether if like, you know, they actually are connected, whatever. But again, she was abducted and then those people ended up selling her off afterwards, just getting rid of her at that point would make a lot of sense to why they were so easy to throw them away, because you were nothing to them. You were just basically cattle, just someone that they can make money off of essentially because their mom couldn't be able to pay off her own debts. And I feel like that could be the easiest way to tie that character back into the story from Acro and bring him in there as like Ira now goes from reuniting with Koyuki, but now I got to take care of this kid because I literally have not just her mom's power, but I literally have her mom, bro. It's just like, you know, so I really feel like that's something like Tatsu has to be doing that for a purpose or reason. I feel like because he does that stuff with the backstories and it's like the little indicators and stuff here and there. Like, again, if I didn't notice that piece with Koyuki's flashback of Ira being that girl at the moment of like when that's revealed, that would have came off as a complete surprise to me. But because when I noticed that detail after, it's like there's a reason why he's doing that, and then we get it. And it's like, okay, so now it's like I pay so much attention to those little things because eventually it's like once they're there for a complete reason. So. Yeah, man. Tatsu's he's perfecting that craft though from Oda. It's definitely something that I definitely think he's taken from him, is trying to make these backstories the big thing about the story, because that's how you get to understand these characters, who they are, why they became the way they became, and yeah, man, bro. Shout out to Tatsu.
Just know if that girl likes ballet,
it's GG's.
It's over.
It's so GG's. It's like
GGII.
Yeah. What's her name? We find out her name. It's like, well, what do you do on the weekends? Ballet. And it's like Ira, just like, you know, they ride Tui, I think it is, whatever, right? When they're eating like the food, just like that's gonna be the moments, bro. Oh, I cannot wait, man. And I feel like the timing would actually be so interesting because of where we are currently right now with things. It's like eventually that could be something we could get after, but yeah. Man.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that girl sucked into the Danmanra game before Ira showed up as backup?
I want to say
yes. I don't think they've interacted yet.
I don't think so. No, they haven't, because she met Daiki. If I'm not mistaken, was it? Yeah, it was her. She met Daiki, and then okay, then
Oh man,
yeah,
it might be on purpose. Oh,
that is very wow. Damn. But then my other thing too is, wouldn't she also be affected by the curse too as well? Because as we know, anyone that's mostly been in the Danmanra that either consumed the food or had something to do in there. I don't
think she ate anything, did she? She just got sucked in and
that's the thing.
Run around fighting or something, because most of the enemies had already been defeated by Momo.
Yeah. Poor Daiki.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Daiki, bro, he ate something from that damn frog, bro.
Child.
Let me add in my theory real quick with Daiki. So, among him, Momo, Zuma, it's looking like they all could potentially lose. So, if the Vision lose, Momo, her body, I don't know, disappears. Daiki die because he's aging. But his relationship with Raya,
yeah,
I think he might end up becoming something similar to how Mai is to Rin.
right.
I think that might end up happening.
Yeah,
That'd be sad, bittersweet, but yeah, the spirit.
especially because like I know, like I don't know if you guys have seen the thing too, because of the name and stuff too, that people think that Raya, if he was to awaken like his own abilities, he might be the guy that actually has like lightning around him. And considering how high up in the air that we are right now, that there may be something that may give him possible electrical powers. Because I do feel like eventually at some point that's gonna be something where if certain characters don't awaken them, because of course they're super abnormalities, so it's a little bit different than anything else, and they had to acquire them through different means, then maybe that's going to be something that could happen where, you know, Raya may not be like a main character, but obviously because of the affiliation to Unji, they might be someone that we're going to have to like need of help at some point. And I mean, being a side character and having a role where you're next to someone who's eventually now becoming that of a main character in the cast in Unji, I think he could be someone that could see being like a right hand that could help us out. But for that to happen, I think they need a power, and within his name, I think it tells me that maybe electricity might be something we could see in his future.
Probably, because he does look like, it does seem like he's going to become more of a prominent character.
His design
Like,
gives off that feel
dialogue.
too. Yeah,
That
definitely.
too. Yeah. Man, the
What
series.
did you make of that bathroom scene? Do you think he got neutered in that? Vontae and I were kind of, because he was down on the ground, kneeling, naked. They had like the switchblade, and I was thinking maybe they did like a Joker slash to the face, but we've seen his face.
Yeah, they might have tried something on him, because I feel like if it got to that extreme, then I think we would have had more hints of something happening, like, you know, in dialogue and stuff. But I feel like they probably would try to do something even crazier, and then eventually Unji's interference kind of like prevented something further from happening. Because I feel like if it was, then I think we would have known something by now from Raya, or we might know as early as like the ends of the arc if there's like a post party or something after, right? But then again, we would have known a bit more of that actually in the previous one when we got done with Don Monra, considering if he's supposed to be like of importance, like a right hand to Unji, then we might have had gotten something. But now, because they chose to do it after the fact, it feels like we're only going to know that post arc. But I think they tried to do something and just didn't go through, because otherwise I think we would have gotten an indicator from Tatsu about that in like their dialogue, possibly.
I think the connection is going to be to Daiki. Once Daiki dies, whatever power yokai he becomes, he's going to latch onto Raya, because he's been giving them piggyback rides for as long as they got to the airport.
Yeah. For sure.
Daiki.
I hope he gets back to his normal thing, because, bro, can you imagine you're 4 years old, and the fact that the Count himself plotted that whole thing,
bruh,
is so crazy. Like, the fact that we have to take that into consideration. He's been plotting this to the point where he put a damn kid inside the freaking thing, and now here we are, bro. It celebrates to the age that they're at right now. It's just absolutely mental.
Him, Evil Eye, Umbrella Boy. Hey, that's friends. The trio right there, man.
It
They're all
is
about 4 years old, probably each.
Yeah, bro. It's just like, what is up with this, man? Why are you like this? You know?
Man. Well, great discussion, man. Once again, thank you for coming out and doing this Dandadan stream.
I appreciate you having me, man.
We're here on YouTube, guys. For all the Dandadan people, or if you have friends that aren't into Dandadan, guys, go tell them. Get to it.
Bro, I'm
Especially
saying,
with the anime
man.
coming back, get to it, guys.
You got Laz in the morning, 11 a.m. sharp, 11:15 some days, and then you got us in the evenings, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. We will be here every week. Dandadan madness. And also, quick little promotional plug that Laz mentioned earlier, we too will be reacting to the anime. So season 2 coming out in a couple of weeks. We will be there and get to see our boy Kinta, which has not come up once in this stream.
Yo, shout out to Kinta, bro. Yo, put that some respect,
what,
bro.
Sam Hill?
The Gundam goat, bro. That's my man's, bro. Yo, shout out to him. Him and Vamola. That's got to be his dream. That's got to be his dream, man. I don't care.
But yeah, chapter 164 is the one I was talking about that potentially could be Sanjime's backstory, which coincidentally comes the chapter after the Dawn reveal was.
Right.
And they also talked about him a little bit in the beginning of that chapter, but I just wanted to add that as an end cap. But yeah, anything else you guys want to say before we get out of here for the night?
Laz, you can go plug your channel again and tell them what you got going on.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, as of right now, I mean, obviously, of course, I talk about One Piece and Dandadan every single week. One Piece depends on, circumstances that we obviously can't speak on air about, but with Dandadan every single Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk about the manga. We'll be talking about the anime as well for Dandadan when it comes back on the Thursdays in the summer season. Might be some other stuff I might pick up on as well, but I'm mostly going to be trying to work on serious discussion videos or just things around like One Piece and Dandadan that I want to talk about. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely go check me out, man. But I appreciate you guys for having me, man. If you are, again, interested in getting into Dandadan, somebody is interested in it and wants to get into it, I'm telling you right now, you're getting into one of the best ongoing series right now going today. Yukinobu Tatsu has been serving greatness on greatness for damn near 200 straight chapters. You may get a break here and there, but that guy's not taking a break. He's cooking every single time. And if you want to know what great manga is, you want to know what world-class manga is, go and read Dandadan. Go watch Dandadan. But most importantly, go read Dandadan. That's all I got to say on that.
Yes, sir. So you guys know the drill, man. Lots and lots of content coming for the next month and later this month. We got Squid Game. We're going to get into Chainsaw Man manga. We have Gachiakuta that will be debuting next month alongside with Dandadan coming back for season 2 and much, much more content. But you guys know the drill, or if you're new to the channel, you guys know or will know now. Please stay safe, stay healthy, stay clean. See you guys on the next video or stream, and peace.
Peace.